Ready? Okay. So, first question is, what is your livelihood, your role? Short description of what kind of work you do, about 10 to 15 sentences.
10 to 15 sentences, starting from now. Well, I guess I'm very lucky and fortunate because I wanted to develop a career as an ecology architect from a very early age, and many years later I'm still progressing through that journey. It's a great journey, and I was also very lucky and fortunate to find permaculture very early as well. I did my first PEC in 1981, and as Kipper said yesterday, I was also very lucky in that I rubbed shoulders with the first generation of permaculture teachers and the founders, spent a lot of time with them. So I've developed a career, a professional career through architecture and landscape architecture and urban design, and fusing permaculture with that, or fusing permaculture into that profession. A lot of people have asked me why I don't teach. And to me, teaching is a skill, and it's also a natural ability that one has. I do teach short advanced design courses and workshops, but I find it very consuming in energy, which I don't really prefer to consume or drain myself. And also the complexity of all the subject material of permaculture, I feel that one needs to be able to talk with absolute confidence and competence on every subject, off the cuff, rather than parroting somebody else's work or from a book. So that's why I don't teach full PDCs, but I do very much enjoy teaching short design workshops, which is my passion, really. So I've combined architecture, landscape architecture and urban design. In the professional arena, I've worked in lots of different offices in many different countries, and often tried to push permaculture ideals and solutions and opportunities through those arenas, which has been extremely difficult because you're working with a very conservative professional world. So I could quite easily say that all of my professional world is about permaculture. Yeah.
I think you just answered a bunch of the other questions. Because the next one was, how does your work align with permaculture ethics?
Permaculture ethics, now that's a good one. It's care of the planet, care of people, and dispersal of surplus.
Yep.
There's an argument about that third ethic, and I prefer the original term, dispersal of surplus.
Rather than fair share?
Fair share is an abortion of the, and a total distortion of the original ethic. In one sense, it's one of the aspects of dispersal of surplus, because in a good permaculture design, in a good permaculture development, we are designing for surplus. We are creating surplus. Yeah. So how you actually disperse that is the critical thing, and it's not really about fair share at all. It's about how you disperse the surplus, and there's surplus in all the elements of what we're creating. If we're creating energy in a house, how do we then disperse it, or how do we store it? If we're creating excess vegetables and fruits and nuts and grains and pulses and products from the garden, how do we then disperse it? Do we store it? Do we process it? Do we hand it to the neighbour? It's all that. So, and there's also a lot of conflict about people care. And I've been in the centre of a number of debates about people care, and people have attacked me about my abilities, my people abilities, which is quite fair, a fair comment. often because I tend to be quite abrupt, quite frank and quite blunt. And in the warm fuzzy world that we live in, a lot of people have difficulty with relating to that sort of personality. But that's my personality, and hey, I have to live with it too. But care for the earth, I think we're all fairly well part of that. But that's an interesting comment in itself, because the earth can look after itself very nicely. There was a phase in our history of the species man where we talked about saving the planet. Well, now we've realised it's got nothing to do with saving the planet, it's about saving the species man. So things are going to have to shift, because the planet can live very nicely without us, and probably will. Yeah. So it's an ongoing debate, the ethics of permaculture and how people understand them and how people work with them. Personally, I don't think we're doing very well at it at all. There's not much people care, and there's not much dispersal of surplus. The world we are part of, the consumerist world, there's a lot of the private consortiums of the world is all about ownership and possession and personal gratitude. Yeah, so that one, we're a long way from being anywhere successful in that too. Yeah.
All right, thank you. The next one was very similar. How does your work align with the principles of permaculture?
The principles of permaculture are great. I often refer to the original principles set out from the original curriculum, the PDC curriculum, and I often argue that if we can understand those principles, then that we can answer every question in permaculture. In design, because my world is all about design, I love a number of those principles. The one I like most of all is edge effect, maximising edge. Yeah. Which in architecture and landscape architecture, in my design, I try and combine the two, bringing the garden into the house or bringing the house into the garden, and that develops a phenomenal edge, a very broad, dynamic edge, and it's one that I find very exciting in design.
Have you ever been in touch with the guy, Michael something, who lives in Taos? He's got the Earthship Biotecture Institute in Arizona, New Mexico, I believe.
Michael.
Can't remember his name.
In Taos.
Yeah, he designs these Earthships where he's got the garden in front.
Oh, okay. Is that the guy that's doing a lecture series in Europe soon at the moment, right now?
He's the subject of Garbage Warrior.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't been in contact with him at all.
He seems, just when you said this edge thing and bringing the garden into the house, it seems
or opening the house out into the garden. My world is predominantly in the warm temperate zone, and it's easy to do that. Yeah, and it's vital to do that too. Yeah, but there's 8 or 9 other principles there which I think are vital to use quite actively, and it's something that needs to develop and be developed a lot more in permaculture and permaculture teaching to talk about the principles and present them. There's an opportunity for another book. I think David Holmgren's book is far too academic for people to get their head round. It's not easy language to read, but also describing how we take those principles into reality and drawing pictures of the meaning of each principle to understand it. Yeah.
Good. So I'm guessing the answer to this is 100, but what percentage of your income do you earn from permaculture?
From permaculture per se, I could probably comfortably say 200%.
Okay.
The other 100% is of how much debt I have.
Okay.
And or the capacity that I offer to the permaculture world. I don't get remuneration for a lot of my energy, which I'm not arguing about, I'm not unhappy about, it's just that's the reality, and I think a lot of people are in the same boat. Yeah.
Lastly, what's your best advice for someone entering a permaculture-based livelihood?
A permaculture-based livelihood.
Yes. And they say, for example, the most challenging parts and how do you build momentum?
The most challenging, and how do you build?
Build momentum.
Build momentum.
In this
I
permaculture
think the critical thing is having confidence, but also building competence. I argue this one quite a lot, actually, and quite fanatical about the whole debate of competence and capability, especially when it comes to teaching. But I also talk to other students of architecture and landscape architecture, and one of the greatest skills in that is actually drawing by hand. If you can develop an ability to draw or create something, it doesn't matter what medium it is, whether it's a ballpoint pen or a 6B pencil or a felt pen, it doesn't really matter, or even chalk, but create something by hand, because a hand drawing is far more responsive and far more character than something that comes off a computer. It has a lot more life and vitality to it. It's a skill that I developed just by practice. But also to totally understand the principles of permaculture and be honest. Be honest with what you don't have, what you do need to grow and develop. And there's a lot of people who are excited about being involved in permaculture as a practice, as a professional activity. But sadly fall short by not fully understanding the entire dynamic of permaculture. Picking up on one stream like mud brick building and calling that permaculture, which is not. And it's just one small element. Yeah.
All right. Do you have any other thoughts? Anything else you'd like to share?
In what realm?
In terms of livelihoods in permaculture.
Livelihoods in permaculture. There's a lot of opportunities out there. We need models, and we need good models, good examples of built systems. But also take time. There's no rush, no hurry. One of my lecturers in architecture, an Australian architect by the name of Glenn Murcutt, I heard him say, don't rush, you don't have to rush into becoming the best architect in the world. It doesn't matter if you don't reach success, and even at the age of 60, it doesn't really matter. But follow your passion. And I think that's the critical thing. If you're following your passion, you can then easily talk about your passion. We learnt that last night.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely did.
Yeah, he was a man that spoke from his passion, and it was very easy to feel that he was speaking from his passion.
Okay, well, thank you.
But the critical thing is honesty. There's a lot of honesty missing in the world of permaculture at the moment. A lot of people who want to be wannabes recognise the complexity of permaculture, and perhaps also valuable in focusing on one area that you're comfortable with. For the want of a term, specialising in it. Be it sewage systems or solar energy or even botany, entomology, whatever, it all fits into the mix, fits into the soup. Yeah, that's it.
Good, thank you.
A livelihood.
Thank you. That was very useful. Thank you very much.